Yes, notes. Yeah. We're going to go to our notes questions, right? That's what we started with. And basically, what you need to do is make a table with 3 entries, right? So, what's the price per item, the number of items, and then the revenue or profit on the last one. And remember that this formula is always true. So that if you know any two of them, you can find the third, right? If you know items and profit, you can divide them and get the cost. If you know both of these, you can just multiply them and get the profit, right? And so forth. So there'll be some kind of indication of finding the way you can maximize profits. And so we started off with, right, this problem right here, and I gave you a bunch of questions that went with it. I'll do the attendance later if you're worried about that, okay? So we answered a bunch of questions here, and yesterday we made it all the way to E, right? But before we continue, I'm just going to briefly review this, right? So there were more questions here, right? We're going to find the domain and range, the price. We're going to graph price versus profit. And so to come up with the equation, you need to make a table like this, right? And these two, the order doesn't matter, but make sure the profit is at the end. And read the question carefully. If I ask you for the equation that relates tickets and profit, right, then you'd be putting, in this case, this column goes into L1, right, and this always in L2. And then the second one asks you to come up with the equation that would compare price and profit. And that's where we get our two different equations. Make sure it's always a quadratic. If this value here is 0 on your calculator, you most likely entered this into L1 and L2, right? And then it's a linear, so then you know you made a mistake, right? You cannot have a 0 as your leading coefficient. And I think this is the moment I'm going to also say that if you rounding to 2 decimals causes this to be 0.00, right? That is not acceptable, right? Like, because if you rounded that to 2 decimals, that's what you would get. You cannot have that, right? Like, then you need to go 3 decimals or more, but do not have zeros in front of the x squares, because then it's actually not a quadratic. So we found, when we looked at the vertex based on this one right here, we knew that the x value represents price, and the second value is the profit at that price, at that particular price. So we came up with the fact that if you charge $1.40 per ticket, you would get the maximum profit based on this circumstance, right? And then to find how many items or tickets you would sell, you just use that formula every time to find, in this case, they wanted to know the number of tickets or items, right, that are sold. We just divided both of them by 1.4, and we ended up with 560 tickets. I will make a note there, because yesterday I was going a little fast. This, right, tickets, right, that would be discrete data, right? Only whole numbers allowed. Okay, so if we're talking tickets or number of people or number of cans, number of something that you can count by like one at a time, if this calculation had resulted in 560.09 or something, always round to nearest whole number. If it had been a dollar amount, no problem, right? 2 decimals, no problem. But this is, we're talking about discrete. I don't know if you remember in IPR, we talked about continuous versus discrete. Continuous is something you can measure. Discrete is something you can count, right? So that's the difference. And we decided that the maximum profit is 784, and we just borrowed that value we already found earlier, right? And so no need to do keystrokes, because you already have done the work here. Okay. let's answer the other questions. So F, answer F here. I'm going to answer F, which is asking. I'm going to actually have the question in front of you because this one is tricky. F is asking, what ticket price or prices, right, would yield or give a profit of $450? What ticket price? Okay. Well, if you think about it, you are given, right, question mark 450, right? Where, right, the second number is a profit, the first one is tickets, right? Tickets, ticket price, sorry. And the second one is profit. So they're technically giving you the profit. You just need to find out the ticket price or the prices at that particular point. So if I know you did homework, so this will be off. So what I'm going to ask you to do is if you could either type in the values again or just follow along. Okay, maybe just follow along because it might take too long if you do this again. So, or if you can beat me to it, go for it, right? So I'm going to just clear that. So to come up with the equation, I'm just going to clarify something here. It's asking for ticket price and profit, right? Just look up 1 second, everybody to your screen. We would have to use, like let's say you did both of them and in a different order. You came up with both equations, right? You're going to want to use this one, right? Where you're comparing price and profit. So we're using this one. Because it's a nice round number, you can actually type this in and be correct. Like to save ourselves the time of having to actually perform a regression, because it's a nice rounded number, it's whole values, we can just enter that as is. Let's do that to save some time. Okay. I'm going to turn off plot 1 now because I'm not using L1 and L2. So it's negative 400 x squared plus 1120x. So go ahead and type that in. And let's graph it. Only because it's a nice and round number, okay? That's the only reason, and I want to save some time. My window is off, so I can probably split whatever this is, I can bring it down to half. But I need to increase my y max. So my x max, I'm going to go 10. Y min, remember you always want to be a little bit under, so -1 also works. Y max, I need to increase it significantly, so I'm going to go what was it yesterday? I'm trying to find. Well, I'm going to go 800 because we found our vertex yesterday and that was 784 was the highest profit, right? So therefore, I know that my Y max should be about 800 or 1,000, something like that. So now that you have this graph, let's go back to the question here. Okay, you are given that. So we will let y2 equal to 450, and then we're going to find the intersections of that, of those 2 points. So essentially, if this is your graph, and you have something like this, where this is the price and this is the profit, we're going to draw a line y equals to 450. So go y2 is equal to 450. And hit graph. And there it is, right? So just to have an approximate. This is just a sketch. I'm not graphing it, right? But there are two instances, there are two prices you can charge to make $450. That's interesting, isn't it? Well, let's go ahead and find those. Second trace 5. There. I passed by the first one, so I'm just going to stick with that one. And that is the X value here is 2.31. That's it. And the first instance actually, right, which I'm going to find now, I have to do this all over again. Enter, enter, enter. I get 0.49. And remember, these are actually dollar amounts, right, along the x-axis. And this is my line y equals 450, right? So if you look at the profit, right, if you charge $0, you make 0 profit. As you start to increase the ticket price, you're going to start making more and more and more until you get to 450 here, right? If you keep increasing the ticket price, right, because this is your ticket price down here, you would get more profit, but then there comes a point where you max out. And once you start increasing it past that point, fewer people are going to buy the tickets, right? Until you get to a 450 again. And then when you go past that, if you keep increasing it even more, you're going to get to a point where you're going to make $0 again. So this is basically what iPhone and or like any big companies, they try to find that sweet spot here where they make the most money based on the price they charge for their items, okay? So this is basically x1 and x2 as well, right? We find 2x values. So a question like this would definitely be worth 1.5 to 2 questions, 2 marks, sorry. So charging 49 cents or $2.31, right, will result in a profit of $450. That's how that works, right? So prices of 49 cents and 231 per ticket will give a profit of 450, right? And I will do a little calculation here. Tickets sold at each price. That's the question. I'm just adding this. It's just an addition to this question. How many tickets would you sell under 49 cents and $2.31? Here, tickets would be profit, so 450 divided by 0.49. And here you would go 450 divided by 231. Okay. So let's find out how many tickets we would sell under each. You're going to sell more here than here, right? You're going to sell more tickets at a lower price than here because you're making the same amount. So 450 divided by 0.49, that's 918.36, so that's approximately 918 tickets under this price. Over here, you get 450 divided by 2.31. That's 194.805, and that keeps going, which is approximately 195, right? The 8 bumps is to 5 tickets. So lower price, more tickets sold. Higher price, fewer tickets sold, but you're still making the same amount. So it depends on what you want, right? Do you want more people in the building, or do you want fewer people making the same amount, right? So that is that. And G, determine the domain and range. Domain in this case, we're talking about the price, right? Domain is your X values. So you go from 0 to, where do you need to go to? You need to get to the x-intercept here, right? Because that's still an acceptable, that's the break-even point. You make no profit. So let's find the x-intercept here. Y2 is equal to 0, second trace 5. And then I'm gonna know what to put over here because it's gonna be that x-intercept, right? So I need to find out what that is. So I'm graphing this. There's my red line. I'm gonna go find that. Oh, I'm in the negatives here, so I know that I have to go left until it shows up. There it is. Enter, enter, enter. That's 2.80. Okay, 2.80. So that is my x-intercept. So that's what the highest value is. Because after that, your profit will be negative and you can't, right? I mean, technically, right, you will be in the hole, but we don't like that in word problems, right? You don't want to be losing money. Range, we're gonna go from a profit of 0, right? That's the lowest that you can get, and the highest profit is 784, right? And this is from the y value of the vertex, and this is the x value of the x-intercept. I asked you to graph this as well, or that's what they were asking us. So let's, and by the way, let's do this this is for you, right? For you to know. In this case, the domain is the price and the range is the profit, right? The acceptable values for profit. And it always depends. Just look at the graph or look at the equation. What would domain be? Okay, it's time, right? Or height for range, so forth. So for my graph, I'm just gonna take some time here. And so this is price. Make sure you put a dollar sign there, right? Price in dollars. Both are in dollars in this case. We know we start at 0, 0. If you're not sure, right, look at the equation that we were given. I'm just going to show you here on the screen. My y-intercept is 0, right, because the constant is not there. So that's 0. But if you're not sure, use your calculator, right? Second trace 1, x is equal to 0, y will be 0. So 0, 0 is definitely a point. I need a scale here. So I'm going to go up by 1. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to add another one just for like that, right? So my x-intercept is 2.8, right? So I have enough room here. My vertex is 784. So if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, let me see. If I go up by 200, that'll be fine. Based on my space here, right? 200, 400, 600, 800, and that's good enough. 2.8, I'm going to find that point, which should be close to 3 here. and my vertex is 1.4, so this would be 1.4 is right about there, 784. Right. I think it's a little bit over to the right, so let's go 1.4 right there, curve it, and back down. Done. And again, you choose the scale as long as it's consistent, right? I would say try to spread it out if possible. And so this is type 1. In your booklets, this will be from page 14 all the way to 17. I think I mix it up after a while. So then you might have some type zeros in there, but this is in the booklet, right? So that booklet I gave you, the textbook does not have a whole lot. So I took some of those questions that are in the textbook and I kind of just rewrote it and asked for more than just the basics. And now we're going to take out we're going to go to page 12. I think page 12 I will just post actually because I spend more time than I wanted on this. So let's go straight to page 13, okay? In our booklets. And I'll post the answer key to the rest. Oh, somebody asked something here, hold on. Yeah. So this is a full example on type 1 that we did. It has everything on it basically that, I mean, always read the question and identify what needs to be done, right? Okay, so page 13, if you want to, again, I said this already. I guess if you make a reference in your notes to come and look here, that works as well, right? Page 13 in your booklet. All right, the members of a Ukrainian church hold a fundraiser every Friday during the summer. They usually charge $5 per plate, right, for a plate of pierogies. They have observed that at this price, they're able to sell 110 plates. And then they, through, experimenting, right, for every 50 cents of increase, right, you got to make sure you get that right because sometimes it might be a decrease, right? Just read it carefully. Every 50-cent increase, 8 fewer plates are being sold. So I will say that there's an increase here and a decrease there. Because sometimes students mix them up. They get it all right, it's beautiful, except for they decreased it by 50 cents and they added 8 plates every time. Okay. Oh, my bad. Okay, so in this case, I'm telling you what should be going on there. Plates would be items, right? This would be the cost, just to have it in line with in general, right? In general, you'll have the items in one column, the cost in another, and then the profit here. And profit is going to be items times cost, right? Per item. And the hint here is that only 3 points need to be created. If I ever give you a chart that has more than 3, please fill out all 3. All more than 3, then if it's 4, fill out all 4, right? So you have a starting point. That's nice about type 1. It starts you off, right? You sell 110 plates when you charge $5. So you put that down, 110. This is $5, and the profit will be 110 times 5. And I'll leave some room there to actually write down later what it is. So if you increase this by 50 cents, that means that it'll be 550 here, right? You have to increase this by 0.50, and this will be decreasing by 8. So this will be 102. And I would strongly suggest, if it's bigger numbers, use your calculator. Don't go mental math here, because I've seen small mistakes that throw everything off, right? -8 there, and then another -8, and this will turn to $6 exactly, and this will be 94. Okay, so we have our different scenarios here, and now we can figure out this is 102 times 550. This is 94 times 6, and we will figure that out in a bit when we type this into our tables. So how about this? I will suggest you read, what does it say? Determine the quadratic equation relating the price and the profit, right? So this will go into L1 and this will go into L2, right? So in this case, that's what I'm asking you to do. So L1, L2. So now you can go ahead and enter this. So go stat, edit, and type in 5, 550, and 6. And then on the others, you go 110 times 5. Then you go 102 times 550. Then you go 94 times 6. And those are the values you're writing down. So 550, 561, 564. And then let's come up with the quadratic equation. So you would go stat, calc, quadreg, and we'll figure out what that is. So stat, calc, 5, second 1, comma, second 2, comma, vars, y vars, enter, enter, enter. And that's what you get. Negative 16x squared plus 190x. Okay. What price will yield the maximum profit? Maximum is the key word there. I'm going to find the vertex. And I'm going to get a point. So now it's the key of graphing, right? You can go ahead and try graph. But remember, Zoom 9 is your friend sometimes. But Zoom 9 will only work if plot 1 is turned on. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and graph it, see if I see it. If I see it, why not? Oh, there. And I do see most of it. So no need for Zoom 9, really. So window, X max, I'm going to go to 20. Let's see if that works. Yeah, that works. So I see the whole parabola. I'm going to focus on the max, right? Because that's where I'm going to get the highest profit, right? Because profit is along your y-axis, right? So you want to get to the highest point. So I can trace 4. and you have 5.94, sorry, and the other one is 564.06. That's my vertex. Maximum profit. Let's answer the question, right? What price? What price will max profit will be attained at a price of $5.94 per plate. How many plates are you expecting to sell at the price up here? Plates is going to be profit divided by price, right? And that is 564.06 because that's the profit that I'm looking at, divided by 594. And that is 94.9595. It keeps going, right? Which is approximately 95 plates. If you round down, that's technically okay within this word problem, right? Because you're gonna be conservative and saying, no, I'll rather side on 94, but either way is fine as long as it's a rounded whole number, right? Discrete. Oh, somebody said something? Oh, Jeremiah, you have a question? Go for it. No, you don't have to tell me that it's discrete. That's just for you to know why I did that. If this had been dollars or distance or anything like that, then yes, round to 2 decimals, right? Temperature, anything you can measure can be left, and dollars, of course. What price or prices will give a profit of 500 bucks? Y2 is equal to 500. So this is something that you can expect, an AC like this, right? Second trace 5, and I'll just show you a little. It goes like this. This is price, profit. And we're going to draw a line here. This is our y is equal to 500 line. Right? I'm going to find out. You don't have to do this, by the way. This is just for you to know what's going on here. So I'm going to go y2 is equal to 500, graph that. And second trace 5, enter, enter, enter. The first one here is 7.94, and the you're like, didn't you round to 4 decimals, Mr. Dirksen? Yeah, if you're planning on subtracting these, like the time spent at or above, yes. But in this case, I'm not planning on doing that. Enter, enter, enter. 3.94 is the first. So these are the two prices that you can set to make a profit of 500 bucks. It happens twice. Okay. Prices of 394 and 794 will give a profit of 500 bucks. I'm not too picky how you answer as long as you answer with units and all of that. There, you're fine. How about this? Before I move on, I'm just going to give the answers to the one before this, if anybody has done this. So if we go to page 12, so the one just before this, I'll give you the answers, and then you know what it's supposed to be, right? So everybody at home, go to page 12 in that booklet, and I'll tell you that this is, how about I don't give the equation away? That one, I think you can figure that out. Initial height would be 0.6 or 6 feet, right? C is going to be 23 seconds. Domain 0.23. Range is 0, 35, 48, 44. You're going to have to do some work to get that. Yeah, Jeremiah, go ahead. That's a good way to get my attention. Raise your hand. Then it gives me a little noise here. It's rounded, right? Yeah, I believe that the 23 is rounded. Or the 6, yeah. The 6 rounds because it's 5.995 if you round to 3 decimals. So yeah. So 2 decimals there, or 3 if you want a 3, you get 5.995 for that, the initial height. Yes. And the graph, I'm just gonna leave that up to you. Like, you should know everything. You should know how to do that by now. Okay. I gave away my AC. I'm not happy about that. But oh well. I make new ones all the time. What are we at? 124. Okay. I will tell you this, okay? Type 1 is okay. Type 0 is your points are given. Type 1 is okay difficulty wise. The one we're doing next is going to be fencing. Those are a little trickier, okay? So I will start that tomorrow. And so basically tomorrow I'm doing type 2, and then Thursday I'm doing type 3. And then Friday we're going to kind of mix it up a little bit and maybe cover some more stuff. And then over the weekend you're going to have some work to do, okay, to practice these. It's going to be a long weekend for you. Monday is an in-service this upcoming Monday, so I kind of plan accordingly, okay? Okay. Let's see. So if you go to page 14, it actually says on the top type 1, page 14. And it goes all the way. I think there are 4 pages worth of, that used to be just one assignment that I would give the class. I just put it all in one booklet, right? So if you go page 14 and page 15, 16, 17, yeah. And 17, the last question is one where the equation is given. So really, it's only the 3 pages that deal with type 1. And so I would like you to work on that for the rest of today. And I will post the answer key to that one. That one as you're working, I'm going to go ahead and post it already. Please let me know if there are ever issues. Thank you for those that have emailed me and said there's something wrong. What was that? I heard something. Yeah, go ahead, Jeremiah. So that's what we're doing now.